Welcome to Medical Spa Mastermind. I'm your host, Cathy Christensen. And today's guest is someone you absolutely know if you are a laser queen or king in this industry. She is amazing at what she does. She's kind of carved her path in education with her incredible laser knowledge, but she literally knows absolutely everything. And she would be my absolute first call if I had any questions at all about upcoming treatments. I'm really happy to have her here today. Taylor Siemens, NPC, is a nationally recognized nurse practitioner and trusted leader in aesthetic medicine with 10 years of experience spanning facial plastics, injectables, and laser medicine. She's the founder of Kairos Aesthetic Medicine, a practice created to offer patients something different, expert-led aesthetic and longevity care delivered with intention, integrity, and a deeply personal approach. Throughout her career, Taylor has cared for thousands of patients and trained clinicians across the globe, giving her a unique perspective on what truly drives safe, effective, and natural looking results. Her background includes leadership roles in multi site medical practices, where she's helped build clinical standards, training programs, and systems designed to protect patients and elevate outcomes. At Kairos, Taylor's focus is simple: to help patients feel seen, informed, and confident in every stage of their journey. She believes the best results come from collaborative care where education, trust, and thoughtful planning guide every recommendation. I have been very fortunate to call Taylor a friend for multiple years now, and she is just a brilliant, amazing woman who is driven and absolutely killing it in Texas. So please welcome Taylor Siemens.
Thank you, Kathy. So kind. It's so fun to hear you say all of that. While it's a long bio, I appreciate you reading all of it. It's just like looking back in changes to be like, man, that really has been the summary of the last 10 years of what I've been
Yes.
working on. So, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we can't skip over that. I think it's tempting, to skip over these things, but the reality is you did all that and it deserves to be read. So, Taylor, the last time we chatted, we were just talking about this. The last time we chatted, you were leading Vitalik in you had 6 locations in the Dallas metro area. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Um,
Dallas and Houston.
and since then, you have kind of gone out on your own and you started Kairos. And I say that, but it's not like you're at the very beginning of your journey. You were poised and ready to do this. So let's go backwards to like baby Taylor and tell me a little bit about how you got where you are right now.
Yeah. Baby Taylor, I giggle because when that question every kid gets asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow
Yes.
up?
Yes.
I never had a short answer. Like most kids are like astronaut or, doctor. Mine
Uh-huh.
was this long-winded answer. And I'd tell people like, well, I really want to help people like, people in healthcare, but not in a hospital. And I really want to educate people, but I don't want to be a teacher in a classroom. And I really want to help people with their beauty, but I don't want to be like a hairstylist. And my parents would like roll their eyes like, Taylor, pick a lane. That job doesn't exist. Just give people a simple answer. They're glazing over. But honestly, it's like that is exactly what my career has turned into. I get to help people feel beautiful in a healthcare setting while I get to educate and teach other providers to do the same. So it's really like a perfect thing to be able to do for me.
Yeah, I know that you're one of the like not few, but one of the elite practitioners in the space that really light up when you talk about educating and focusing on, doing things better for your patients, getting better outcomes, getting better results. Where did that love of education come from? Because you just kind of become a spotlight whenever we talk about like what's coming up with laser. Like for example, right, Taylor, I love you. She's like, I just had a laser treatment, so my skin's not quite, and I'm just
Kind
like,
of
you're in the
peeling.
right place.
Yeah, I think it was I worked really hard to be really excellent in my craft. Like, I never
Mhm.
want to shy away from people. I'm like, when you devote as many hours as many of us have put in to be excellent at what you do, that also means that you hurt a few people along the way. You make some really critical mistakes. That's how
Mm.
we became great. Like anyone who is really great at something will tell you it's because of the mistakes they made. And so I love educating because I think it clicked for me one day when I was like, oh, the mistakes I made don't have to be in vain. Like the
Mm.
people that I hurt don't have to just be people that I hurt. They can be stories and concepts that I'm able to turn into really valuable lessons for other clinicians so they don't hurt people in the same way. And so it may have been a little like self-preservation of like, oh, okay, that person I hurt turns into a great education story. Like it wasn't for nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now, just as I've gotten better at educating, to be able to turn these really complex concepts into something much more simple is so exciting for me to see other clinicians like the light bulbs going off and then knowing they get to go back to their practices and take really amazing care of people. Um, I think, yeah, like back in the day, my goal was just to impact as many people as possible. But I've learned now if I just focus on impacting the right people, that impact is multiplied so much further. And people all across the world are better taken care of off of um, the hard work that I've put into learning it all.
Yeah, that's so true. You're absolutely right. It's when it's almost like, what is that saying? You train someone to fish. If you fish for someone, they get fish for a day. If you train them to fish, they are always fed. And that's something
Mhm.
that I've had the honor of seeing you teach. And I've never seen anyone teach laser concepts as clearly as you do.
Mhm.
And you can tell by your audience too, they feel very comfortable with you. They know they're in great hands. Where did you start loving lasers? Like what, when you first got into this industry, tell me about kind of how you found this path. And then I know lasers are kind of your love language, but longevity is coming up there too. So tell me how
Yeah.
you fell in love with these
Yeah,
things.
yeah. My college mentor, his name is Kent Hance. He was actually the chancellor at Texas Tech. And for some reason, he took a liking to me and mentored me for several years. And I will, for the rest of my life, be grateful for that relationship. Brilliant businessman. He's raised billions of dollars in capital for business and for the
Wow.
University of Texas Tech. But he told me one day over lunch, he said, you know, Taylor, you've got three things really working against you. He said, number one, you're a female. Number two, you're a minority. And number three, you're young. He said, time will solve that last one. But the
Mm,
other two, you're just going to have to be better than everybody else for those not to be hindrances in your growth.
mm,
And business has always been really like my first passion. I love business. And
mm.
so he said, I think you're going to be really great at business, but we need to solve that time thing. Because if you go out in the world trying to start businesses as young as you are with the other two things against you, it's like you're going to be successful, but it's going to take you a lot longer to get there. And so he was the one who told me, you know, you really need to
Wow.
go into healthcare. He said nursing school actually starts in a couple of months. Like we need to make sure you have everything you need for that so you can go to nursing school. And I'm so thankful for him for that because it really set me on a good trajectory of there are a lot of amazing operators out there and there are a lot of amazing clinicians out there, but there are very few clinicians who know how to operate and very few
Uh-huh.
operators who understand the healthcare side. And so I think that really set me up for success. And when I got my first job in facial plastics, I really leaned into that. And I realized, you know, to be a good employee, you've got to be valuable to your employer.
Mhm.
And I need to soak up everything I can from this surgeon, from the business side and clinical side. And he had a laser machine, creme de la creme of lasers sitting in the corner that hadn't been turned on in months
Oh,
because he didn't fire it. And I thought, you know, I think this is a great way that I can make his results look even better if I learn how to use this for his surgical cases. And that's what we did. We operated Monday through Friday, up to three cases a day, every single week. And he would do the surgery, I would do the laser, and we just made a great team for those patients.
that's incredible. And just kind of going back to your mentor. Wow. Like that is a really powerful, candid conversation that he had with you. And I don't think a lot of mentors or teachers would necessarily be so blunt with you about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, how did you take that? Were you just like, this is so constructive and I'm going to take it, or were you? I just wonder if he could have done that now. Everyone has to be
Yeah.
very careful about how they talk about certain things. Would it be taken the wrong way? And how did you take it at the time? Because I think
I
personally, as a blunt speaker, like I'm a person who likes to just talk about it. Um,
Sure. Yeah,
so,
no, and I'm the same way. Like, tell me how it
uh-huh.
is. What
Yes.
things do you see I need to improve on? What things do you think I could have done better for the next time? And so that was very much our relationship. And we had like a very much mentor-mentee relationship. So I knew everything he told me was with love for the purpose of being a part of my success. That's all he cared about. There was no
Yeah.
other ulterior motives. He got nothing out of our relationship other than a Christmas card every year. That was the deal. I'll mentor you if you send me a Christmas card every year until I die. And so there was no benefit to him
Mhm.
saying that. And so I'm just like, the mentors in my life, he being one of them and so many others, I mean, they will take years off of your learning curve and years off of trial and error when you can just put people in your life who want nothing but for you to succeed and are willing to be honest about how you get there.
Mhm. Absolutely. I think honesty, like nobody has time for the necessarily the passive aggression or the beating around the bush. We will be right back after these messages.
This episode is sponsored by Growth 99, the med spa industry's leading digital marketing platform. Growth 99 has helped over 1,000 aesthetic and elective wellness practices grow through powerful digital marketing. Leading practices trust Growth 99 for services including marketing automation, beautiful websites, paid media, and SEO. Visit www.growth99.com today to learn more, or click the link in our show notes.
And now, back to our episode.
Tell me about, how do you find the right mentor? Like, how do you keep yourself open enough that you're identifying these people in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it looks different in different seasons too.
Yes.
These days I pay for mentorship. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in masterminds that I pay tens and tens of thousands of dollars for access to for people who are further along than me to help
Mm-hmm.
pull me up to their level. And so there was a point in my career when I was so new, everyone was further along than me. And so I didn't need, I could just ask people like coffee, all of those things.
Yes.
I always tell people when you're doing that, if you're not paying for mentorship, make sure you're prepared to bring the value to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be the person that just eats up and sucks everything from them. Figure out how you can serve them and help them accomplish some of their goals. So there's a reason for them to want to pour into you. And so I have mentors, I mean, in every aspect of my life. You want to build muscle, you work with a personal trainer. If you want to build business acumen, you find someone who knows more to coach you in on that. So I'm just a huge, huge fan of surrounding yourself with people who will be honest and help you accomplish what you want.
I think that's great. And I also think kind of what you said as far as it's where you're at in your life or what season you're at. I think it also takes quite a bit of introspection to say, if I'm mentored by this person, it's keeping me comfortable, as opposed to I need to find someone who's going to stretch me and challenge me in this way because because it will help me be better. It'll help me grow. It'll help me get to my next step.
Hmm.
Um, and I think recognizing that is it's a pretty profound thing that you said, because you can say you're, stretching yourself, but you're really know that you're finding a more comfortable place to be.
1,000%. And I think it's helpful when you define those things too. in any industry, but like there's a lot of noise out there and people have a
Oh my
lot of
gosh.
opinions and a lot of things to say about everyone. But I have some very specific and strategic people in my life, professionally and personally, that they have permission to speak into my life. And so
Uh-huh.
if I hear something about me or gosh, did I approach that well? That's who I go to. I don't look at
Mm.
everybody else, a comment section to see, because if the people that have permission and authority to speak into my life, if they have a problem with it, it's because it's not matching up with what I've said, who I want to be, or what I'm working on. And so I take that so much more heavily than
Yeah.
random people having opinions. And I think people that don't have the trusted people to speak over them, they're the ones that really get bogged down with feedback and, criticism, which is just a necessary evil of trying to be a voice in anything.
Yeah, no, that's so amazingly true. Like you have to set your own boundaries and your own. I'm a person who's pretty susceptible to other people's opinions of me, which that's just something I'm working on. It's something I've
Mm,
been working on my whole life.
sure.
But it is really, really important, like you said, to put those guardrails up. Otherwise, there's no filter for what's hitting you, especially if
Mhm.
you know you're sensitive to it or you know it's going to impact you negatively.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
Even my
so smart.
husband, he has, I mean, twice a week, he meets with one group is a gentleman who is in his 70s. He's built a career that my husband aspires to. And so my husband takes him to breakfast every Friday and they talk about life. And he speaks into
Yeah.
my husband's life, even to the point of like businesses he and I wanted to start. And this
Uh-huh.
mentor's like, this seems way off course. Like you've never even talked about this. This doesn't really fit with what you've said. And we really sit with those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then he meets with another group. There's about 14 of them. They call themselves the wise guys. So they're 7 younger. We're getting a little bit older there. So by the younger, I mean like early 40s
Uh-huh.
versus the older, and they're all in their late 70s. And they just have breakfast and talk about life. But those 70-year-old men have experienced decades more than them. Their marriages they've had for 30 years longer than any of
Yes.
the younger guys. And so, what a gift to be surrounded by people who want to share their mistakes and their wins for the sake of your benefit.
Yeah, that's incredible. And as you're kind of growing, I I'm sure you are also becoming a mentor. So
Mm.
what are you finding yourself like in that space and what lessons are you taking from your mentors and seeing, the experience that you and John have had?
Yeah.
How are you kind of making yourself available as a mentor?
Yeah. So part of our training business, we talked in the introduction about Kairos aesthetic medicine. That's our patient care side. We also have a training consulting company called Kairos Aesthetic Training, and we've been doing that for about 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do a lot of mentorship there. But I think kind of the biggest surprises, as you asked, is this is going to sound really harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh, but like we're all really kind of going through the same struggles, right? Everyone thinks that like their situation is so unique or like
Mm,
no one's ever been through something like this before. Where when you kind of start going through things, you're like, oh yeah, I dealt with that in year 2. Like this is what you need to do with it. And so I
uh-huh.
think it's almost just when I'm mentoring people, it's normalizing the hardship that is the life that we have chose to live. And how do you get through that hump even faster and, with as little carnage as possible. But really normalizing that, like, look, we all struggle with things and we're all
Yes.
just trying to get better. Let's be focused on how we get better and not focus on the mess that is whatever we're trying to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have stepped into, it's interesting because we kind of talked about your love of business and how you've gone into, you had, you were the COO of Vitalik for years and grew that brand to be amazingly successful. And now you're in your own brand. You're the owner of the brand. You're also a clinician, correct?
Yes,
So
yes.
talk to me about this like huge crazy shift because to be a COO, you just said it, to be a COO and being operations is different than having clinical success. And
Yep.
now you're kind of doing both on your own. Talk to me about like the shift.
Yeah. Yeah. Even at Vitalik. So as we grew, I started treating out of our corporate office, which was so helpful because my treatment rooms were just a staircase down from my
Mm-hmm.
office. So I could run up and down really easily from our corporate office. Um, but even then, I was really only in the treatment room about 6 hours a week those last few years. And I really just did that because I felt it was important to stay bedside. If you're going to lead a team of clinicians, I really feel passionately about staying grounded. It made it so much easier to make operational decisions when I knew how it was going to impact me as a clinician, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really counted on that of like, okay, if I'm asking you, nurse injector, to do this, I'm
Mm-hmm.
also asking myself. So if I wouldn't be okay doing that as a clinician, I would never ask you to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, 6 hours a week is not much. Um, and then overnight, so I went from a team of like 64 to four overnight. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I've got to get back in the treatment room producing revenue full time again while we get going. So I'm treating closer to about 28 to 30 hours a week now. But I have an amazing team that really can hold their own. But it is different. You have to be so much more strategic about time blocking and
Mm.
making sure that you're creating space for both clinician and operator. Um, you know, maybe there's some crazy unicorns out there, and I don't mean to call them liars, but I say all the time, whoever says they can do both at the same time is lying.
Yeah.
Maybe there are five of you out there listening to this that you're like, I can do both. Okay, you're the exception, but it is different parts of your brain. And so
Yeah.
it is impossible to treat patients for 6 hours and then hop on an operations call and make the most sound decisions when you're not in the
Mm-hmm.
right mindset. And so if you saw my calendar, you'd probably fall over of just all the color coding and like time blocking. But I think that's the main key for me is creating space for my strategic thinking and owners and operator versus, okay, now it's me and my patient. Let me be a clinician now.
I think a lot of people, a lot of owner operators in the space are running into the same thing, but not necessarily. I don't think everybody understands how to control that.
Yep.
Because it can be a tidal wave. Like the second you walk in the door, it's 700 things are happening right away, and then your day's over.
Yep.
How do you have any tips on how to like balance and juggle that and
Yeah.
actually make your operations brain like more impactful?
Yeah. A big part is number one, I have an amazing team. So they think they run the practice like they are owners, and I'm like such a gift. And
Uh-huh.
so our operations girl, she runs operations for the training side and then helps some with the patient care side. She's a huge help because all those things you're talking about when you run in and stuff has already hit the fan,
Hmm.
it's going to her. She's taking care of those things,
Hmm.
and we have time every week where we can sit down and solve things. And so I think that is my biggest tip is have someone in that seat you can really trust, and then let them. When the clinicians come to me, I run our clinical department still. So clinical things, yes, they come to me. We talk about it from a clinical perspective. But if they ask me a question that my operations girl's job. Even if I know the answer, I'm like, that's not me. You need to go talk to
Hmm.
her. It's training your team that like they don't just get to have a shortcut to you because then they will never stop coming to you.
Hmm.
So even like dress code, one of my estheticians recently texted about dress code. I'm like, oh, can I wear this on Fridays? And I'm like, why are you asking me?
Hmm.
I'm not over your attire. That's an operations thing. You need to go ask her. And I knew the answer was like, of course, wear that.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
dress code, we wear scrubs. When you're not in patients, you can do kind of like athleisure, like it has to be on
Yeah.
brand. I have three rules: no butts, no boobs, no bellies. So like, if none of those are showing, I'm genuinely okay with it. But like, that's not. If I train her to come to me about those things, they will never stop coming to you, and that's an impossible way to run a business.
Absolutely. And I think in order to also kind of develop those boundaries, I'm sure you have a very close relationship with your operations person too. How
Yeah,
are you
yeah.
downloading with each other to make sure you're both leading down the same road?
Yeah, we run off of EOS, the
Uh-huh.
Entrepreneurial Operating System. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So, like, we have our
Yep.
weekly one-on-ones, our weekly L10s with the team. Our marketing team has their own meeting. Clinical has their own meeting. We have IDS.
hmm
So we run like a very specific way. So if she and I are having a conversation, it's like, oh, wait, what should we do about this? If it's not something we have to solve right then and there, we just say, oh, IDS. We don't even talk about it. It goes on our
hmm
IDS list, which stands for identify, discuss, and solve.
hmm
And we'll talk about it in our one-on-one. So we create that space to make sure we're tackling things when we're supposed to.
Yeah, I love that. So then it kind of takes out the reactionary, and I'm very familiar with the process. And it's a great one. It's a great process, especially for medical spas. But
Yeah.
it does take that reactionary. It kind of gives you permission to not put out the fire right away, unless it's a
Yeah.
huge fire, and then I'm sure you just put it out.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But having that dedicated time, and we don't mess with those meetings. I think that's the thing too, is sometimes, I do a lot of training. So I'll go in the practice and they're like, oh yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, just let's cancel the team meeting tomorrow. It's at 9 and the first patient's not until noon. I'm like, we don't do that in our practice. Even if
hmm
that's all we're coming in for, we will be there because that's how things become fires because you don't
Yes.
stick to your operational structure.
Yep. Exactly right. So tell me a little bit about the longevity side of things. I know it's so funny because you and I had a conversation right when GLP-1s. Do you remember this?
Yeah, yeah,
We were at that beautiful, was it Boulevard in Chicago? That beautiful restaurant with
yeah,
like the huge chandeliers and the amazing bathroom. Um,
yes,
um, that we were talking right when GLP-1 started to come out, and you had such an amazing, like, you made it very simple to help me understand. And then you had an amazing approach to it, which was very level-headed, which I absolutely wasn't surprised that you were the person that I could really get the right answer from. But I'm excited to see that it's part of Kairos, and I'm interested to hear more about how you're feeling about it. I know, like, every time I turn on the news, there's new news about like the Wegovy pill and about this, that, and the other thing. Tell me about like how you're feeling about that and how you're incorporating it.
yeah. I love longevity medicine. I have been a consumer of it for many, many years. I think I've been on like peptides now for 5 years. Like no one was
hmm
even talking about it then. And so I think it has such an amazing place just in medicine in general. Forget about aesthetic medicine, just
Right.
longevity medicine in and of itself, I think is really a great tool to help people who want to perform and optimize at their best. And so
hmm
when I started Kairos, I knew that that was going to be a category for us. Like we would have it our own department and grow that not as a separate business, but kind of like it has its own ad budget, it has its own team. And so whenever I had made that decision, I started really like, okay, I need to jump into clinician mind and really figure out how can I run a good program. And I went to one course and I left that course. I called John, my husband, who's my chief of staff, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to hire someone to do this. Like this
hmm
is a whole subspecialty of medication. This is not
hmm
some like dabble weekend course trendy thing. Like this is truly a subspecialty of medicine, I believe. And so I'm so thankful because my nurse practitioner, her name's Danielle, she's been practicing longevity medicine solely for about 6 or 7 years now. Like,
Oh,
as
wow.
excited as I get about lasers and education, that is her when you talk about hormones and peptides and exercise and all of these things. And so she is a huge gift because when she heard we were launching Kyra, she approached us and was like, I really want to be a part of this. How can I get
Oh,
in?
wow.
And I'm like, actually, I need you because it's going to take me 10 years to catch up to your knowledge base and what she already knows. And my patients deserve more than that. They deserve more than me dabbling in it, to be quite frank. And so she came on board from the beginning with us and is a wealth of knowledge and just amazing all the way around.
I love that. And I think it's so true. It makes me, longevity medicine makes me very nervous just from the outset of kind of as it's growing in adoption in the medical aesthetics field, because we have a tendency in this field sometimes to jump on trends without fully understanding what they do, what their origination is. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but
Mm.
it's so critical when you're dealing with people's lifestyles. And it's not just Botox. Botox is also medicine, and it's very important. But, it can have a domino effect. And if you're just jumping in and not being a trained professional, or collaborating with a trained professional that really understands this, it can be pretty detrimental.
Yeah, I mean, and I felt that burden immediately, just
Yeah.
seeing like how much there is to learn, and not to, like you said, not to downplay Botox or whatever else we're doing. But, if you make a mistake, it's not fun and you can, affect someone's appearance for a period of time. And I'm not saying to be a cowboy about it. It doesn't matter. Those things matter. But when
Mm-hmm.
you all of a sudden switch to like systemic
Mm-hmm.
issues and
Yes.
bodily systems, that is a much larger responsibility that we as healthcare providers and business owners really should be taking very seriously to make sure that we are approaching it in the best medical way possible. And it is a little disconcerting. I have a lot of conversations where people are like, oh, well, what are your profit margins on your wellness program? Or, how much money are you making off of this? I'm like, you're already starting off of the wrong
Yeah.
place, because if that's what you're caring about and that's how you're going to build your medical program from the place of that. Now, we all should be making money and have a profit to stay alive in
Yeah.
business, of
Yeah.
course, but we should be starting from the medical approach and figuring out the operational after. And so yeah, I'm a little concerned about it too, and I think there's enough of us out there really trying to hold people
Yes.
accountable.
I agree. Well, and what you said is true. I think about the industry in general, the focus on finances versus the focus on safety. And a lot of the bad actors in the space, that's why they're doing it, is to make
Hmm.
money. Um, how important is it? And I know this is probably a dumb question, but how important is it to keep ethics number one all the time? Um, it's an interesting industry because it's a combination of medical and retail, but how do you make sure that that stays your number one driver?
Yeah. How important is it? The utmost important is the answer. I think, you know, we've got to get away as an industry from like the trends and like really treat this
Hmm.
as a subspecialty of medicine, because that's what it is. And so it should always be clinically grounded first. And
Hmm.
then it's up to the business owners to figure out how to keep their costs low and how to work on vendor relationships to improve contractual agreements on pricing. I tell my team that all the time, and a lot of people disagree with this, but sure, I want to hire a team that's willing to be out in the community and helping fill their books and all of those things. But I'm not quite sure that I believe it's their responsibility as clinicians to do that. Their
Hmm.
responsibility is to practice great medicine and make sure that their skills are up to par for what our patients deserve. It's my job as the business owner to make sure that their books are filled by controlling our ad spend and our costs with our vendors and those things. And sure, we all help with all of those things. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, I want a clinician that is more concerned with patient safety and outcomes than how much money I'm going to make as a business owner. Let me worry about that and you practice good
Hmm.
medicine.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Especially when put that way, because I think that's a common way to do uh,
Hmm.
business. But you're right, it can put maybe safety and safe outcomes kind of on not the back burner, but second, right, on the
Hmm.
list.
Hmm.
You said something that is really fascinating to me, and it shouldn't be.
Mm.
You said medical aesthetics should be a subspecialty of medicine. when you say that to me, it feels so far from being true.
Mm,
And it's not because the quality of the industry isn't there, because it is. Like, we have the best practitioners in the world working in medical spas that are really, trying to preserve their mental health and their balance in life, try to be happier, make people happier. They're incredible at what they do, but how do we get there? How do we get to a place where we are professionally respected,
hmm.
and not just seen as a flash in the pan, Instagram heavy,
Yeah.
like, trend? Because that's kind
Hmm.
of how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like not necessarily the vendors, but other specialists, dermatologists, plastic surgeons, this is absolutely how they see our industry. It seems like a long road to get there. Do you have any thoughts on how we can?
Yeah. I think there's equal responsibilities on the clinicians and the operators and the business owners, to be honest with you. Number one is clinicians. It's our job to show up professionally online and with our patients. That we're dressed appropriately. I won't give specifics because I don't want to call anyone out or like feel triggered if that's what you happen to wear to work today. But like we should be showing up professionally and speaking professionally with our patients. Now, I have great relationships with my patients and we laugh and, all the
Sure.
things, but there's a professional boundary to that. But then also on the business owners of creating a culture where that's what is respected in your practice. I think that your culture trains patients. And so,
Mm,
our practice runs very much like a doctor's office. Patients are on time. They don't show up 15 minutes late or call expecting to get in like it's a nail appointment in 15 minutes
mm-hmm.
because operationally we have trained them. Like this is a subspecialty of medicine. This is how we treat you to acknowledge that. And this is also how we expect you to treat us. And so it's been really interesting to see because our patients will send us like posts or ads from other aesthetic practices in the area, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe they're doing this?" Where I'm like, no, no, I can't. I don't tell them that, but it's
Yeah.
like we are creating and perpetuating the problem by behaving a certain way online and in our what's accepted as culture in the practice, that we are just training people that they don't need to take us seriously. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with that. We should be taken just as any other specialty of medicine, but we have to rise to the standard before people will be willing to put us there.
Right. And it is the industry itself, like the full industry has to rise, or the majority
Yes.
has to rise to that standard and make it known that we're at that standard in order for people
Yes.
to respect us as a subspecialty. That's a really interesting. It feels like a long road, but at the same time, I don't know. Instagram is the great equalizer, which is good and bad. It's really bad in this instance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because your Instagram is getting as much attention as, somebody who may not be kind of putting themselves out there that way. And that can be
Yeah.
harmful to the industry as a whole.
Yes.
Interesting. Big things happening here. So as you look as a brand new owner, like of your brand new business, as you look towards the next year or a couple years, what is exciting you? What are you considering bringing on? Or are there any operational changes that you're thinking about bringing in to strengthen your business?
Yeah. From the operational side, what you mentioned I was involved in some multi-site and now have separated. It's been really fun on the operation side because there were so many things that I'm like, man, we did that wrong there. Like, oh man, if we would have done this, that would have been so much better. But you don't know as you're
Yeah.
building out, right? And then we grew so fast. I mean, we opened 6 locations in like 3 years that then
Wow.
it becomes impossible to go back and do the things how they needed to be done
Mm-hmm.
because that's just a whole feat in and of itself. And so I never thought I would have the opportunity to like get a do-over. I thought I was going to be there for my entire career. I
Yeah.
was not planning on leaving. And so that has been so fun operationally to be like, wait, all I can finally change that. I can finally get that how I want it to be. And so we'll continue to do that to refine. And I think that's what I'm enjoying about being such a boutique, small,
Yes.
non-multi-site right now is we are so nimble. And so what we decide is not in stone. And so we get to stay really flexible and gritty. And it's been a long time since I felt that in business. So that's just been really fun. Um, on a clinical side of things, our patient base is changing a lot with the longevity medicine side. And
Hmm.
so, we're 5 or 6 months old now. And so, I study intake forms. Like in my free time, that's what I'm looking at is like,
Uh-huh.
what's the symptomology? Like, what are all these patients saying that bother them? They may have come in for reds, but like they checked 18 boxes on the symptom list.
Uh-huh.
And so I put on that symptom list anything and everything under the sun that could be treated, whether I think I'll ever carry it for something for it or not, because
Yeah.
I've been so surprised that I'm like, I never would have thought about that. But like 60% of our patients said that that bothers them. So like,
Wow.
we're going to look at that. And so, especially with the hormone side of things, next quarter we'll bring on like some vaginal rejuvenation treatments,
Hmm.
which I'm so excited about. Like so many of our patients are moms or
Yes.
they're, in their 50s and 60s and experiencing a lot of, postmenopausal changes. And that is an area of medicine that I've never been able to serve people in. And I'm like already so excited about like, man, just the stories we're going to hear about helping women get their confidence
Yes.
or their life back in that area.
Yes.
I'm so, so excited for it.
I love that too. You're like looking in your own house. So many people are looking out there in on socials or in Instagram trying to figure out their next thing by being influenced by whatever it is out
Yeah.
there. And you're actually really getting into what you know in your own house with your own patients and determining what your next step is. And I think that is
Yeah.
so smart. It's
Mm,
time consuming, I'm sure, but it's so smart to do that because you have built in information about what people need.
yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people do that, especially owners. And I think it's because of time. A lot of
Yeah.
the time, like you said, like once that stone goes down the hill, it's hard to like
Yes.
stop it.
Yeah, no, I think people pay so much money for like market research and market
Yes.
data to decide what to bring on, which is great, but I don't actually care about that. I don't care what my quote unquote competition down the road is doing. Like their practice has no influence on our decisions and our four walls. You have access to that local data with your patients, and that's
Yes.
all I care about is serving our patients well. So I'm not looking to the left and right. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I want to
Yes.
serve the people there. It's funny, we sent out like a mass text a couple weeks ago and got a few like stop like opt outs, and
Uh-huh.
my team was like, oh my gosh, like we're getting too many of these. What did we do wrong? Like could we have said this different? And I was like dancing. I'm like, yeah, more opt outs. Like thank you for telling me that you are
Yes.
not the person that I should be wasting my marketing dollars on to speak to. Thank you for helping me identify who my actual patients are, because all the people that texted back interested, like those are the people that I care about
Yes.
serving. No shade to the other people, but like
Sure.
I don't care that they don't want to hear from me. Like thank you for saving me money. So I stopped trying like man hours trying to reach you and schedule you and send you more nurture campaigns. Like they just saved us $100 probably over the next year instead of us trying to please this person that doesn't want to be a part of what we're building. I think that's the biggest gift. Like focus on the people that are excited to be in your space to keep doing things.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of the things I'm seeing a lot on like the chat rooms and stuff is folks feeling like the industry is saturated and they're
Mm,
so worried about their competition, so worried about not, there not being enough patients for their business. But what you said, I think is absolutely right. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Keep your eye on your own business, your own patients, build what you know, and don't
Hmm.
worry about what's going on. Once you take your eye off the ball to like try to keep up, things get a little shaky.
Agreed. Yeah. And who cares? Like, who cares that so and so just got this brand new technology? Like, what do
Yes.
I care? Do I even need that in my practice? Like, no one's even asking for that. Why would I go spend all this money on something that my patients don't have a need for? And if that their patients needed it, congratulations for serving your patients well. Like, it doesn't need to be a measuring stick because
Yes.
success looks very different between each practice.
100%. And I think that's the other, I mean, in my opinion, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I know there are general KPIs that we all should be looking at and following with our analytics, but I would argue that they're not the same for, I mean, some of them are, but I would argue that they're not exactly the same from practice to practice. Do you agree?
I couldn't agree more. Yes. That's one of my biggest frustrations, which we have to teach from somewhere. But in a lot of
Right.
conferences, it's almost like people will hammer in, like, you have to be caring about this and you have to care about this. And I'm like, That literally has no impact on me. Why would that makes
Mm-hmm.
no sense for my business? We have to start from a place of understanding what are the goals of that practice to then
Yes.
say, it's like, even on a simple one like revenue, people are always like, well, what's your revenue? I could give two craps about my revenue, Kathy. I care
Yep.
about profit. That is the
Yes.
only metric that I care about. And
Yep.
so who cares what your profit is? I don't care what your profit is. I want to know how much money do I have at the end of the day to invest back into my business, to invest back into my team, and to take home to feed my cute little dog. Like,
Yeah.
what do I care about what revenue is? But it I think it just goes back to like people just trying to follow this playbook that may or may not
Yes.
even apply to you.
Well, and I think it's unique. I think
Hmm.
it's a lot of people skip the step of saying, like, this is my definition of success. This is where I want to be in a year or 2 years. This is what matters to me. And
Hmm.
instead tries to plug into the ultimate solution.
Hmm.
And that's not, always the right. I don't think it's ever the right way, truly. I think you
Yeah.
always need to know and then stay true to that. Like you said, your mentors hold you accountable for that. Maybe it's your
Yep.
family, maybe it's just you. Like, write it down. Make sure
Yep.
you know what you're doing here
Yep.
and
Exactly.
why you're doing it.
Well, and before I give like anybody bad business advice, like just because I care about that, like if you are in a different position where you're building a business to sell, like to sell to another
Yes.
owner or private equity, like there are many businesses that revenue is the number because that's what they care about
Yep.
and that's what they
That's
want to
right.
see. But again, like you've got to know what are your goals 2 years from now, 10 years from now, and then scale it back to understand how you're
Yeah.
going to get there. Because yeah, private equity wants to see revenue. I have zero interest in selling my practice really at any time. So
Hmm.
I don't care. I want my profit to raise, not my revenue.
That's right. That's right. If you're in a place where you're exiting or something like that, their numbers are critical.
Hmm.
And the way you deliver them are critical. And that's a whole
Yes.
different ballgame. And that's a whole different level of learning that
Yes.
highly recommends that if you're in that position, you figure out what that is.
Yes.
Um, Switching gears, Taylor, one of the things that I always ask my podcast guests is, at this space in your life right now, what would your theme song be?
Um, yeah, you may or may not know the song. Do you know the song Sea of Victory by Elevation Worship?
No.
Okay, that would be my song. You should go listen to it when we're done here. I'm in a season, starting a new place. I really feel like just very recently, like handcuffs were taking off of me, metaphorical handcuffs. And I am just so confident that a victory is coming for us, whatever that means. And by us, I mean my team and I. We've been through so much together over the years. Um, And it's really fun because I think early in our career, we would have said, like, this is about proving something to someone.
Hmm.
None of us have anything to prove. Like, we are not trying to prove anything to anyone. We're just so excited to fully step into what we feel called to do. And we know that victory is going to come from that. And so that's just been like a really sweet song to mark that for us.
Ah, I love that. That's so awesome. So as you're looking at your kind of your next year, your next 2 years as you're growing, what do you hope to learn? Like, where do you want to be in a couple years?
Yeah, it's a great question that I don't fully know the answer yet. My majority of my time right now is just spent on like what do I need to do to accomplish the goals of my team. I think
Hmm.
I've been really, really lucky the past 10, 11 years to have accomplished a lot of my goals. And
Hmm.
I really feel like I'm in a season of now pouring into our team. I've mentioned it multiple times. I have such an incredible team. I would not be where I am without them. And they all have really big goals on like career
Hmm.
development and financial and balance in their life. And
Hmm.
I'm just really, really proud to be able to build something that they get to do what they want to do. And I'll get emotional over it. My team is the best. And so, 2 years from now, I don't really care what we will have accomplished as long as they got to tick off some of the things that they're really eager to step into.
Oh my gosh. Taylor, you are amazing. And I'm sure your team is just you're exactly what everyone wants to have as a leader in their space. You care about your team. You understand that pouring into them will result in success.
Mm.
And I know that's the way you are as a friend too. You're just amazing. I'm so grateful for you. What would you say as you kind of grow with what you're learning? What do you want your legacy to be in this industry?
I'm pausing because a good educator, sure. Like I'd love to be known in the space as a good educator, someone with, a positive influence and encouragement. But I think I care a lot less about how I'm known in the industry and just how I'm known as like a friend and a supporter. Like that means so much more to me of just like I hope that I come across enough people and pour into them enough for them to be able to say my life is better because of that. And I feel equipped to tackle this next thing because of that conversation or that time with us. And, most of that happens just be in the industry since that's where my time is. Um, but I think, yeah, that just helping people feel seen and take good care of people.
Ugh, I love it. Love that. It's so, and of course you will succeed 10, 100 times over because you've got the right reasoning and you know kind of how to count your wins and your
Mm,
blessings and you know what's important.
yeah. Well, I've got good friends
For
like you
you.
in my corner, Kathy. That's
Always,
that's the
always,
key.
always. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. And I'm so grateful to see you. It's been too long and we need to find a time.
I
Um,
know.
but I'm so grateful to you. I'm watching you and cheering you on from the sidelines. And so best of luck and I appreciate your time today. And where can people follow you online and find Kairos and everything?
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is taylorsiemens.np. So it's Taylor Siemens.np. And then on there you can see our clinic, Kairos Aesthetic Medicine, and our training, Kairos Aesthetic Training.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Taylor, and
Thanks
have a
for having
wonderful
me.
weekend. And thank you again for your time.
Yeah.